Welcome to UKIYN EcoPeace Cafe. This is a series of sessions with young people from UK. And before we begin this session, I would like to welcome all of you to observe a moment of silence to offer prayer for the victims of war. So please. Thank you all. And so let's begin today's journey. So we started UKIYN EcoPeace Cafe in July. Yeah, today we are going to discuss about restoring the ecosystem through planting trees. And we have a special guest from Costa Rica. She's the youth program coordinator and project coordinator at ECI Secretariat and the Center for Sustainable Development at UPEACE, Costa Rica. And I'm so happy to welcome you for today's session, Amanda. And now we are going to discuss about planting trees. And before that, we can spend a little bit time to know each other better. So I would like to welcome you to share your name and where you are joining from. And also, please share like a time when you felt a strong connection with nature through your faith. So please take a moment and please share. Maybe Eda can start as always.
I guess for me, it's from my childhood, and when with my grandma, I first planted flowers, and that was so much fun. And it was so amazing when after, I guess, 10 days, I saw the plant that I had planted was started blooming, and some tiny flowers started blooming and all of that. It was I still remember that feeling, like how you can help nature or that plant to start a life, like be lively, like with blooming and all of that. So that was too much for my little brain to understand, but also super exciting. And I always remember that time of my life. And since then, I've had very strong connection, and I'm trying my best to be respectful to it, to nature. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Eda. And would you like to pass the ball?
I think I'll pass it to Jeeves.
Evening, everyone. What a beautiful question. I don't know how it translates to my faith. But I suppose the time that I would say I felt a strong connection to nature, I still do it, even when I'm not actually in nature, is the sound of nature. So I'll type in on sort of Calm or YouTube different noises, nature noises, and that's something which really helps my well-being and gives my mind and my thoughts focus. So that's something that I use nature for my own well-being and to channel and focus my thoughts and my mind.
UKIYN, would you like to go next?
Sure. I think ever since I'm a child, I feel very connected to nature. I always loved spending time, but it's difficult to explain how that translates with my faith. I think because I don't really have a defined faith, but I feel like part of nature. I like to feel that everything is connected, and then everything is the same and can influence each other. So I think that's how it translates into my faith, because I think we are really connected. I don't see ourselves disconnected, if that makes sense. Would you like to try again, Julius?
Yes, can you hear me?
Now we
Yes,
can. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yes, yeah, thank you for this question, because it's connecting us again to to our childhood experiences. And I remember when I got connected with nature through faith, because of course nature is always part of us, but to get connected with it is actually a different thing from just being in the nature itself. I got connected with nature through my faith, because I grew up as a Catholic, and the parish environment where I used to attend as a child gave me that connection, because the parish environment was a different environment from our local environment where I grew, because I could see a lot of planting of trees, a lot of flowers, and it used to be beautiful and nice to be there in the parish compound. And even as I grew up, the parish environment was always having big trees, although it is now being destroyed, that has been cut, but there is still some kind of connection still with nature. So I think that is my connection with faith, and later on, of course, in learning within theology about making the parish environment to be a connection, a place of connection for people between the people and God through environment. I think that is what I also still remember as one of learnings in theology that I got. So that is my own connection.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Father,
Thank you.
for sharing
Yes.
that.
Mhm.
And let's hear from Ravinder.
Well, I'm from the Sikh faith, and our faith says that, God is above everything, but within everything. So God resides in nature. And this, in our morning prayer, we have that the earth is a place of worship, and therefore everything within it should be treated with respect, dignity, and honor, and all of creation should be treated like that. So we have UKWFN has produced resources regarding what all the different religions say about nature, and there are PowerPoint presentations as well. So it would be good if we can sort of somehow connect UKIYN with those particular resources as well. Nature to me, I mean, in my back garden I've got quite a few trees, and yesterday morning I saw through the trees this beautiful sun coming through, and it felt as if it was God's light coming through the leaves of the trees. And I thought, well, that's my idea of God and the light that is everywhere, the divine light that is within everyone and within everything. So nature is paramount in the Sikh religion, and therefore I do the work that I do because God is everywhere.
Thank you. Thanks so much for sharing that. Amanda, do you like to share now, or?
Sure. Thanks, Karishma. Well, for me, I'm in Costa Rica, so there's a lot of nature around me, thankfully. So I know a lot of people, they tell me they miss nature once they leave. So I really like to take the time every day to feel that sense of awe that we've been talking about and connection, because I know not everyone has it, and I really appreciate it. This question made me remember a time earlier this year when I went to a workshop for spirituality and sustainability. In one of the meditations that we did, the professor, Mark Hathaway, who's also one of our facilitators for the Earth Charter courses, he asked us, we were at this beautiful place with gardens, so he asked us to each find our own spot and find another life form. So for example, a bee or a tree or any other or a bird, and just sit there for, I think it was 15 minutes. So sit there and observe and watch and connect. And when he first said that, I thought, oh, I can't sit here for 15 minutes and just watch. But actually, once I sat down, I slowed down, and it was really nice to connect with that bee and seeing how it was going in and out of the flower, and just thinking about life from its perspective, even though I have no idea what's going on in their mind. But I think it really helped me feel connected, and also to my faith in that moment.
Thanks, Amanda. And also when you shared about this, I also felt like when we did a training program here, and I also asked the students to go out and feel the connection. And many of them come back after 15 minutes and share that this is the first time they are actually sharing time with the nature. And they so many insects that they are seeing this for the first time. So that was kind of surprising for me. Like when I was a child, I was like playing with these insects, and these kids are coming back and say that, oh, we don't know there is like this kind of insects are there. So that's kind of surprising for me, and also helped me to reflect like how important we have to spend time with nature and see other life forms and know them and feel a connection. So thanks for sharing that, Amanda, and thank you everyone for sharing this. And if you like to share more, please feel free to share your thoughts on the chat, and we can move to the session now. And as I mentioned earlier, like we have a special guest today, and her name is Amanda Bennett, and she's joining us from Costa Rica. And she's the program manager of the youth program at ECI Secretariat, Earth Charter International Secretariat. And she was born in Guanacaste, Costa Rica, and grew up in United States. And she earned a Bachelor of Arts in Experimental Psychology and Masters in Public Policy. And also she's studying at Costa Rica University for Peace. And she's pursuing master's degree in environment development and peace. And also she like we work together at the Earth Charter Secretariat, and Costa Rica helped me to develop this EcoPeace Cafe project. So welcome, Amanda, and the floor is yours. We are eagerly waiting to hear like how to plant trees. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Grishma. Hi, everyone. So today I will talk a bit more about the Earth Charter. I personally don't have my own tree planting project, but being an environment student, and so I was able for the past 2 years, I was able to learn a lot from people who do have their projects. My family has projects. They have been part of Costa Rica's Payments for Environmental Services program, which a lot of people have researched and talked about and analyzed. And also as part of the Earth Charter movement, I have been able to come in contact, especially with young people who are going through and starting their own tree planting projects. So there's a lot to learn from different people around the world in their different contexts. So, but really what I focus on at my job, as you can see here in this office and I am very used to interacting with people via Zoom, because what we do at the Earth Charter International Secretariat is give a lot of courses on by using the Earth Charter, because this is even though it's a charter document that organizations can sign on to, that individuals can sign on to, it is also an educational tool, which has also been recognized by UNESCO, and there have been 2 resolutions at the UNESCO Assembly in different years, asking people, asking member states, asking the organizations and people in higher education and in formal education, non-formal education, to use the Earth Charter in their education processes. So I hope that this presentation will help you get an idea of how to do that, and also help you get inspired to either start your own project or to contribute to the many that are already out there and also need our support. And we'll have a breakout session to put some of these ideas into practice. And then we'll continue on with the agenda, which will have final reflections and discussions and our conclusion. So once you start learning more about the Earth Charter, you'll see this phrase a lot: turning conscience into action, because the Earth Charter is a document with many ethical values and principles for sustainability. So just, we won't have time to read the Earth Charter, but if you go to the website, you can read the Earth Charter and see how the different principles are interconnected and how you can use them in your work, and how they're aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals, and how they can help us really achieve that giant, big goal of leaving no one behind, and how these principles can continue to guide us even beyond the year 2030. So just to give you a broad idea of the Earth Charter movement, in 1987, there was a big report from a commission, a United Nations World Commission on Environment and Development. It's also called the Brundtland Commission, and the report is also called the Brundtland Report, named after the Prime Minister of Norway, Gro Harlem Brundtland, who was in charge of this Environment and Development Commission. So this report gave us a definition for sustainable development that a lot of us use in education and sustainability, which mentioned future generations as well when we think about the responsible use of resources on a finite planet, also while keeping in mind the future generations to come. And this report also recommended a creation of a new charter that set forth the fundamental principles of sustainable development. So this was in 1987, so people were paying attention and in agreeing. Some people said, yes, we need this charter, we need this document to bring people together. And so the consultations around this document, the Earth Charter, started in the year 1992, which is the year I was born. And this coincided, it happened at the United Nations Earth Summit in 1992 in Rio. But this was going to be a very long process, participatory, because they wanted to have these deep discussions that were necessary to put forth this document. So it actually took a few years, and the document was finally launched in the year 2000. The final draft was written at UNESCO headquarters in Paris, and then the document was launched at the Peace Palace in The Hague in the Netherlands in the year 2000. And as I mentioned earlier, there have been some resolutions passed at the UNESCO General Assembly, calling for individuals and member states to use this ethical framework in education. And there have been different meetings throughout the years and different projects, initiatives from Earth Charter International, but also people around the world. I work at the Earth Charter Center for Education for Sustainable Development. And our work is also work of the Earth Charter International Secretariat. So there have been a lot of courses developed and in contribution to this idea that we need education for sustainable development and to have values and ethical principles that guide all of these ideas and projects for students and for transforming education. So if you go to our website, you can see there are so many resources that you can take advantage of. There's a podcast, so you can search for the Earth Charter podcast. There are webinars. We had a webinar earlier today that was free on Zoom. So if you follow us on social media, you will have access to all these opportunities. And we also have courses. So I am the program manager for the youth program. For that, we have a course for youth ages 18 to 30. And now we have a new one for youth ages 15 to 18. And after the young people take the course, then they're invited to become part of an Earth Charter Youth Network. And this is how we get in touch, and this is how new projects are born, and this is how we support each other as young people. So Greshma is part of this youth network, and I'm also happy to be involved. We also have work a lot with educators. So there's an online certificate program on education for sustainable development. And this helps any educator, so elementary, high school, higher education, or non-formal education even, to take these ideas and take these resources and mainstream education for sustainable development into their curriculums, even if it's someone who teaches math or physics or any topic. We know that we need everyone involved if we want to achieve a world that is sustainable, that's just, sustainable, and peaceful. So that's why we have created these spaces for learning and exchanging of ideas towards sustainability. So the Earth Charter document has a systemic approach. It's very interconnected, even though it's divided into different parts. So first you have the preamble, which I recommend that you read, and you, once you have time to go and read the Earth Charter, reflect on these ideas of being part of an Earth community, being part of a community of life, and what this means, where is your role as part of this community. And then you can go through and read the 4 pillars that make up the Earth Charter. So first, there's respect and care for the community of life, followed by the pillar on ecological integrity, social and economic justice, and democracy, nonviolence, and peace. So each of these 4 pillars has 4 principles, and each of these principles has sub-principles. So there's a lot of language that we can use to reflect, to have dialogues, to help us use these values and these principles as an ethical compass, as we like to say, when we're facing difficult decisions, which we do every day. And also when we're planning, for example, a new project, or when we're dealing with an issue that affects us at every level. So either interpersonal or professionally, or as a community, as a nation, as a global community. So we really hope that you'll be able to take the time to reflect on these principles and see how they can help you in your ethical decision making. So as part of our courses, we use a lot of systems thinking connected to the Earth Charter principles and to inspiring examples around the world, as well as working on our collaboration skills and in our development. So something that we first like to do when talking about systems thinking is think, what is a tree? So I want to invite all of you to think, okay, what is the first thing that comes up in your head when you think, what is a tree? What is a tree in my perspective? And if you want, you can write it in the chat, or you can just keep it to yourself. For example, right now I'm looking outside my window and there's a palm tree with coconuts, and someone is cutting down coconuts. So for this person right now, this tree is a source of coconuts. So what is a tree? Oops. So a tree could be a source of food. Let's see, let's check the chat real quick. Even said, not a living organism, not only a living organism, but also an ecosystem. Yeah, thank you, Evin. So a tree could also be a source of food, like right now for the person outside getting the coconut, a source of wood that we can use to build our homes, to to cook our food, to fuel our lives, our daily lives. A source of beauty and inspiration, maybe, I mean, we've all seen paintings full of trees and we're able to admire them even though it's not the actual thing, but it's on a canvas. A source of oxygen, of course, we wouldn't be alive without the trees that are helping us breathe every single second of our lives. A shelter for animals, shade for humans, an ecosystem, as even said, of smaller plants and animals linked to the tree. A defense against soil erosion, which is super important. A living thing, or is it a sacred creation? Greshma said a tree is a source of happiness. This one is new, my list. And Eda said oxygen. Ravinder said a natural source of carbon capture. Thank you all for participating. So how we see the tree depends a lot on our perspective. When we plant a tree depends a lot on our perspective. The importance we give to tree planting depends a lot on our perspective. And also the support we have for this depends on the perspective of those around us. So next, I want to show an example of someone who was also part of the Earth Charter movement, and a really good example of someone who saw the need for tree planting and how she has inspired, how throughout her lifetime, she inspired so many people around the world to do the same. Okay, so it's a short video from, oops, 1 second, let me make sure I shared correctly with sound. From an example of Wangari Maathai. So this is from the Nobel Peace Center YouTube channel.
Maathai was the first woman from Africa to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. She was also the first woman to become a professor in her home country of Kenya. As for her peace work, it all started by planting one tree. When visiting some of Kenya's poorest areas, Wangari Maathai saw firsthand how the degradation of the environment impacted the lives of rural women. Kenya's forests were being cleared and replaced by commercial plantations, resulting in more drought, loss of biodiversity, and increased poverty. In 1977, she founded the Green Belt Movement, an organization focused on reforestation and women's rights. It began with women working together to grow seedlings and plant trees to bind the soil, store rainwater, provide food and firewood. For each tree planted, they also earned a small sum. Some people laughed at the idea of enlisting villagers, but Wangari Maathai didn't listen, and by 2004, the women of the Green Belt Movement had planted 30 million trees. The members learned that they were not powerless, that they could find their way out of poverty. If they could bring about such positive change to their communities, what else could they accomplish? When the Kenyan authorities started selling off portions of the forest to private construction projects, Wangari Maathai sprang into action and opposed the government despite police brutality. Her activism brought to light the corruption and lack of transparency of government. Thousands of citizens mobilized to defend their forests and their rights. Eventually, Wangari Maathai and her organization gained so much support, the government had to stop the project. Thereby, the Green Belt movement evolved and started participating in the reshaping of Kenya into a more democratic country. In 2004, Wangari Maathai was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for her work.
Although this prize comes to me, it acknowledges the work of countless individuals and groups across the world. They work quietly and often without recognition to protect the environment, promote democracy, defend human rights, and ensure equality between women and men. By so doing, they plant seeds of peace.
Wangari Maathai passed away in 2011, but her legacy still lives on. Through the Greenbelt movement and initiatives like the Trillion Trees campaign, we're still making progress on reclaiming and restoring forests. Nowadays, we're constantly being bombarded with problems, and it is easy to feel overwhelmed. Wangari Maathai's method is simple. Start little and do the best you can. Think about the big picture, knowing that each change you make to one part will affect the whole. One person's simple idea, a community coming together to plant trees, can make a huge difference.
Okay, so let me share. So we'll share those links in case anyone would like to watch that again or share that again. Okay, let's go back. And I think she's such a wonderful example of how it's not just about the environmental or just about the social, it's really all interconnected. So a lot of people don't stop and take the time to think of how, of how tree planting could be related to democracy, for example, or to nonviolence, but it really can be connected, and it usually is. So as I mentioned, Wangari Maathai was part of the Earth Charter movement, and this is another one of those resources that we have available on the website, the Earth Charter in Action. So this book is from a few years ago, but there's a lot of really cool articles that you can also check out. There's one from her, there's one from Jane Goodall, and just talking about the interconnectedness of all these themes, of all those pillars that I mentioned from the Earth Charter. So social and economic justice, ecological integrity, and democracy, nonviolence, and peace, and how that's all connected and it's all united by this central idea of respect and care for this community of life. Okay, so going back to the presentation, I just wanted to mention that now, as part of the youth program, I am just so inspired every day by the different ways that young people can help. So it's also all of us that can be part of this change. So we can do it through our creative expression, like Erica here on the left, she's from the US and Japan, and her work has been really inspiring in helping us connect with nature. Greshma is also a great example of someone who has gone back to her community many times, also connected with teens virtually, and made all these international connections to have these spaces for dialogue and this connection to nature and to all these other principles that are necessary for sustainability and peace. There's the Latin American youth. I'm really proud to be part of this community because we really like to come together every year and come up with our declarations as youth for what we see as changes that need to be done. For example, this was the Regional Conference of Youth last year, which was hosted in Costa Rica. This year it was just hosted in Colombia. And these conferences are hosted in every region ahead of the Conference of Youth that is hosted every year ahead of the Conference of the Parties for Climate Change. So, and before a regional conference of youth, there's a local conference of youth. So I really encourage you to get involved and find yours if you have never heard about these conferences ahead of the conferences of the Parties for Climate Change, because it's really, for me, it has been really nice to be part of a community and know that I'm not the only one who, I know I'm not the only one who cares about climate change, and just to learn from other young people and see what they're doing. There's also Victor, who is a really great example of someone who takes tree planting seriously. He's part of World Cleanup campaigns. Right now, as part of the Earth Charter Youth Movement, he planted some trees in commemoration of the Earth Charter anniversary, which we celebrate the day of the launch each year. So what he did in his community was that he planted some trees, and we have a WhatsApp group. So he's been giving us updates on how the trees are doing, what he's learning about it, how he's protecting them and helping them grow. So it's really cool how we can learn about tree planting just from our friends, even if they are thousands of miles away. And it was for me, it was really interesting to learn about the tree that he was planting, because I saw it was, even though he's in Nigeria, and it might be very different from Costa Rica, so the trees that he's planting right now are some trees that are also found here. So there's really a lot that we can learn from this cultural exchange and exchange of ideas. So for today, the principle I wanted to share, the Earth Charter principle, is Earth Charter Principle 5. which helps us think about the idea of protecting and restoring the integrity of Earth's ecological systems, with special concern for biological diversity and the natural processes that sustain life. Because if we want to do tree planting, we really have to think about how much do we know about eco-literacy in our context. We really need to get informed and pay attention to that biological diversity around us and make sure that we're not planting, an invasive species, or that we're cutting down trees that were already there and then planting a monoculture that is not going to actually benefit the community of life around us. And so we need to use systems thinking to make sure that we are really protecting and restoring, since that's our aim. So thinking back to the question of what is a tree and the different answers that we gave. So this question arose as to whether to cut down a tree. A systems thinker might approach this issue across 3 different dimensions. I think it's really important to keep these in mind when thinking about tree planting or supporting a tree planting project. So first is perception. We need to make sure that we're extending our viewpoint and our boundaries of concern. So really take a moment to reflect on who else is involved, who else is part of this context, and what are their concerns as well. And I'm not just talking about humans, I'm also talking about the other creatures that make up our community of life. There's also conception. So helping us recognize connections and patterns of our relationship. This is where systems thinking and the skills really come into play. Well, this is all part of systems thinking. And finally, actions. So we need to design and act in a holistic and integrative way. So I have another short video, and I really liked how they summarized everything, because as I mentioned, I don't have my own tree planting project, but as an environment student, I have been able to learn from a lot of examples of people who have really succeeded in their projects or failed at times. And there are a lot of factors that we need to consider when tree planting or when supporting policies about reforestation or afforestation, or when learning from other examples and seeing how they can be applied to our context, or maybe they can't be applied to our context at all. So I want to show this video because I really liked how they summarized it. And we can also share this link after. Okay. I think this one is 5 minutes.
Large-scale tree plantation programs have exploded in popularity as a way to tackle the climate crisis.
Today, we will be planting 20 million trees.
Who's against the trees? I mean, everyone's for the trees.
And it's easy to understand why.
These trees, they store masses of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. They give us oxygen we breathe. They are really the most amazing ecosystems.
And there's no disputing that the right trees in the right place is a good thing. However, this type of large-scale tree planting is becoming a problem. Because while anyone can plant a tree, it doesn't necessarily mean we should. This is Yatir Forest. It's Israel's largest planted woodland. It was once hailed as a green triumph, holding back the desert, storing much-needed moisture, and reducing CO2. But the 4 million trees are actually having an overall warming effect on the planet. This is because of something called the albedo effect, which means the ability of a surface to reflect heat based on its colour. The bright desert surface that was there before reflected more sunlight than the current darker tree canopy that replaced it. That's right, this forest is making global heating worse. What the Yatir forest highlights is that choosing the right location is crucial. Planting in the wrong type of soil, near too many grazing animals, or in the wrong climate are all factors that will kill off new saplings very quickly. The wrong location can also deplete groundwater, dry up streams, kill off peatland. This was approved by the UK Forestry Commission, which, in addition to destroying the important ecosystem, also releases the huge carbon deposits stored within it. Choosing the right location isn't the only challenge for large-scale tree plantations. Most of the time, these tree planting programs choose monocultures. Consisting of only one species, monocultures store less carbon, are terrible for biodiversity, and are also highly susceptible to disease. It is ecosystems, not just trees, that capture and store carbon. And diverse ecosystems secure the most carbon most securely. Another big problem is planting the wrong type of tree. In South Africa, the introduction of non-native varieties of acacia has led to this highly invasive tree taking over vast areas of land, including precious heathlands and grasslands. The country now spends millions of pounds clearing the trees every year. Similarly, in the UK, the non-native Sitka spruce has decreased biodiversity by creating barren forest floors due to its dense treetop canopy. Large-scale tree plantations often target land that communities depend on. About 12 farms have been sold recently in mid-Wales to companies who plan to offset carbon emissions and invest in timber. Across the world, approximately 300 million people work or live on land targeted by large-scale tree plantation programs. And perversely, there are instances where communities have been incentivized to cut down the old forest because planting new trees pays more. For instance, farmers in Costa Rica are given $125 a year for each hectare of plantation they establish, but only $39 a year if that land is used to protect natural regeneration. There's a strong argument to say that large-scale tree plantations aren't an efficient or effective solution to restore the trillions of trees lost over the centuries, nor fix the climate crisis. We actually lose about 10 billion trees every year through wildfires, deforestation, and other means. So protecting the forests we already have would be a better use of our time and resources. Forests are actually really good at restoring and expanding themselves, so we should allow space around established forests for them to naturally expand. This is called natural forest regeneration, and it's by far the best way to get more trees on the planet. One place where planting trees is good is in urban areas. Trees help reduce noise, improve air quality, help prevent flooding, provide shade, and even improve your physical and mental well-being. So yes, the right trees in the right place are vital. But the fact remains that there is no one solution to the climate crisis. We have to use all the tools at our disposal to reduce greenhouse gases and slow global heating. We're losing forests at a terrifying rate, much faster than we can plant or restore them. But the forests are growing back, and if you want to see where they're growing back, I'll put a link in the description to a project that is tracking forest regeneration all over the globe. And if you want to learn more about this topic, my colleagues Phoebe Weston and Patrick Greenfield did a great two-part special on the Guardian's Science Weekly podcast as part of their Age of Extinction series. As ever, please like and subscribe, and if you want to support our...
Yeah, I'll share those links to the videos I shared today so that you... Let's see. Ben said, today, March 9th, 2022, the newest initiative started its journey through the project with the motto, plant a pine, put your footprint. Which aims to, let me close this. To revitalize Krasti with pines with the contributions of residents in Ilbasani, increasing the responsibility of the citizens in the protection of the environment, as well as civic activism. Also new is the place.
It's not today. In March 22, we have this a good project, and for the people and the citizens there. Yeah, I will give you more information later.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. This will be good for the breakout room too, to bring these examples. Okay, let me go back to the presentation so we can get to talking. So from that video, before we forget what they said, so I just have some reflection questions that you can take to the breakout rooms if you want, or you can just keep thinking about it today or this week. So yeah, so what are those threats to the conservation of trees? What are the challenges to planting new trees? What do we need to keep in mind when implementing a reforestation project? So if we have new trees in a place that has been deforested, and what are examples of conservation or tree planting in your context? Because also I think it's very important to think about the trees that are already there, and because those are already the home for many other species as well. Okay, so before I have an activity for a breakout session that I will present later, but we also have a really good example here of a tree planting project. So I want to give the microphone to Ms. Ravinder so she can tell us more about this project.
Thank you very much, Amanda. That was very informative. And yes, I do know that we should watch what we are planting in a particular area, because as we saw from the film, planting the wrong type of tree in an area can be detrimental to the ecosystem. Right, so I'd just like to explain a little bit about a project that UKWFN, the Women of Faith Network of Religions for Peace, has initiated it actually just before we had the COVID lockdown, and so we're a little behind in the project. But it's called Let Earth Breathe, Plant Trees. So this was an initiative to get schools, to get city councils, places of worship, individuals to plant a tree of peace, as you could say, as something like a link to talk about what we can do individually and collectively to help the climate crisis. What are the things that we can do within our own homes? What can we do within our places of worship? So the planting of the tree of peace was actually a concrete act for further work to be done. We also established a Religions for Peace UK Peace Grove, where if you didn't have the abilities, supposing you stayed in a flat that you didn't have the ability to actually plant a tree, that you could donate some money so that the tree could be planted by the Woodlands Trust in a grove in Scotland. But I'd like to explain with another method that, you know, when we had COP26, we had the president of EcoPeace coming here. And EcoPeace have planted sort of mini forests in India, and there's about 429 at the moment, called Guru Nanak Sacred Forests, using the Miyawaki method. Now, I don't know whether any of you know about the Miyawaki method. You can plant a number of trees, say in 100 square meters or in 200 square meters, whatever area you have, even 75 square meters, but you plant 5 or 6 different species of trees and undergrowth in 1 square meter. And then those particular saplings, they're watered, and it's in a fenced off area. And what they found was that within 2 to 3 years, these saplings grew so fast because they were trying to veer for the light that they established forests within 3 to 4 years. And 99% of the forests that they planted was successful. So I thought I'd decided to investigate this further, whether this could happen in the UK. And I've just realized I found a forest, which is in my local park, and it's a very small area that they've planted in using the Miyawaki method. So this was Earthwatch Europe who has done this in the UK. So it seems to work in different environments, doesn't have to be a hot climate. So watch this space. I'm collaborating with University of Glasgow. They will be able to give us a small area within the university to plant these trees. So let's see what happens. Watch this space, and I hope you'll be able to take this particular project forward in other areas, and it has been successful in the UK. So if you have a look at Earthwatch Europe, you can find the method and how it's done. Any questions?
Thank you, Ravinder. I made sure and I shared the Religions for Peace UK group link in the chat. Also, I will share my email address again in case you would like to connect with Ravinder to discuss further. I will start the communication.
systems thinking in what's going on right now. So this is the activity that I planned for us. So I have a problem and a solution. So I want to invite everyone in the breakout rooms to analyze the solution from different perspectives. So the problem is that there's too much air pollution in your city and children are getting sick. So there's more cases of asthma in the hospitals, and kids are just not paying attention in class because they are not feeling their well-being is really being affected by the air pollution. So the solution that the government in collaboration with the schools, what they're going to do is that they're going to distribute face masks for children to wear on their way to school and on their way home from school. So free face masks for every child. So what do you think of the solution to this problem? And so I want to invite you to analyze it from different perspectives. So think of how your analysis of what you think. So it's someone who thinks like you. And what would someone who thinks the opposite of you think? Would they agree with the solution or would they be against it? Think of the perspective of a different form of life. So what is the perspective of a tree or a bird when it comes to this problem and this solution? And think of someone living 100 years from now. What would they say when they hear about this problem and the solution that was given? Also, can you think of a different solution with your group in your breakout room? Or do you think this is the correct one? Or could we have this in addition to another one? So this is I want to give credit. So I adjusted this activity from a Joanna Macy activity. So I can also share some tools from that website, from Joanna Macy's website. Okay, does anyone have any questions about the activity? So, thank you for participating in your groups. What did you think? Maybe we could have one. Well, if everyone wants to speak, because we're a small group, what you thought about the solution that was proposed? Did you come up with better solutions or?
Yeah, I think the face mask it will not prevent children from inhaling the gases from traffic, like the air pollution. It can maybe protect them from those particles, but not from the emissions coming from cars, for example. So we thought that planting trees is a good way of filtering the air. Also, maybe another solution could be reducing traffic or encouraging people to use more public transport or avoiding using cars if they can walk or cycle when possible, things like that. The other question, I think it was from the perspective of someone with an opposite opinion, so that I can only think of having a dialogue and showing evidence and also listening to other views and trying to understand their concerns and maybe trying to get to an agreement from a different perspective, from another, like you give the example as a bird or another tree. Again, we go to the tree, having more trees to have a more balanced ecosystems, to have a healthy ecosystem working. So they will be beneficial, and for the future generations, for 100 years, again, we go back to the tree. So I think it's quite obvious that the long-term solution will also have more trees in urban areas to address not only air pollution, but also heating problems, water management, depending on what kind of city you have, to avoid floodings or securing groundwater, regulating the water system. Sorry, I'm speaking too much.
No, thank you, Yvonne. That was great. And I would love to hear if anyone else from your group wants to add, but I when you were speaking, I thought it was really interesting how it was interconnected. How you said plant more trees, and then another solution that you gave was to reduce traffic and encourage people to walk. And I was thinking, we have more trees, and we have those really nice parks with trees and gardens, then that makes it a lot easier for you to walk, to take a short walk to school or to your job or to the bus station, if it's nicer, if it also contributes to your well-being. And if it's not as hot, because no one wants to walk down the street and like sweating and then get to work all sweaty. But if you have trees, then there's shade and you're gonna feel cool. Does anyone else want to add another perspective or add to the perspectives that we had listed on there?
I think our group could add something. Well, with Julius and Giselle, we were more critical thinking, because for us it was not enough information what causes the air pollution, and that's why to come up with a solution, I mean, it will be just a wishful thinking exercise, but not necessarily bringing a solution. So that's why our kind of suggestion will be, or our solution will be, to actually run a proper research and investigation what causes the air pollution. And but also when we start trying to think about the applied solution with face mask from different species or life perspective. So we like thinking about bees, what they would think about the air pollution, and like would they be happy with face masks solution. And we realized like actually they're not going to be happy about it, because for them nothing changed, and actually for anyone it's nothing changed. It's just actually it will cause, like it will become a disaster at the end if we are not gonna solve or find what is the cause of this current situation in that city. So anyway, they are not going to be happy, and probably their perspective, or the only thing that they will do is just to cry for help. If they could speak, that's the only thing that they will like. Okay, it's our imagination, that's the thought. But also what Julius suggested, and I really loved it, is that any creatures, they like those vulnerable groups that doesn't have any voice or representation. And so yeah, even like currently we have different demographics or different economics groups who don't have any representation or any voice in any situation. So they're like in a way equal with these bees that we cannot even understand what they want. So I think it was a really interesting view. And Julius, if you want to add something also, please go ahead. And also at the end, when we were coming up with our solution, it was like, it will be great to actually run a proper investigation and analysis what's causing the situation, but also run a campaign or like co-design together with all the species, or even like to apply this ecosystem thinking when we will try to find a solution. Like what I mean by that, knowing not only like most of the time the solution comes from the human perspective and not necessarily actually benefiting any residents, but companies or probably those who earn money on that. So and what we meant, like we were thinking, it would be great actually to think what would be beneficial for bees or for these worms or for trees, also together with human beings. And I think it's just, I don't know, it is exciting for me actually, this perspective, because it means that we will design a solution which will benefit everyone, not only human beings or big corporations. Yeah, and Julius, please add.
Okay, thank you. I'll just add something that we actually thought maybe if someone would think differently from me, what would it be? And I actually thought that the people who think differently from us or from me are those who say that I don't care. This is not a problem. Just continue wearing the face mask. And I think those are the groups that don't care. The people who say wear the face mask, or just stay at home if you don't want to go on with your business. So those are the people who don't care. And those are the people who think differently from us. Another thing that I just want to add is the other species, maybe the plants and the animals, could really get up with the fed up with the pollution, and they could speak and say, please, maybe beg, please let us work together. Let us have a collaborative solution towards the problem. So I think because the plants cannot move, they cannot migrate like maybe the human beings and the birds. So the only thing they will say is, please let us work together. We can also contribute to solving the problem because they have a solution already. The plants are helping in capturing the carbon, the pollution. So they could actually say that, okay, let's work together. And I think human beings, if we can collaborate with nature, we can find a solution. So I think that was our discussion. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Julius.
Well, obviously we wanted to add that, yeah, we could just suggest reduce traffic or like plant trees or cycle or walk more or something like that. But again, that was not enough information.
Yes, no, that was definitely on purpose to get us thinking, to see if you had any examples from your context, any example, hopefully not bad examples, but we all have our bad examples of how we handle emergencies and how we handle policies, how we handle conflicts at every level, but also hopefully there's some good examples also that were shared. I know Ben had one earlier, but he had to leave. Okay, but Grashma, I'll give you the floor again so you can continue. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking part of the activity and sharing your thoughts after.
Yeah, thank you so much, Amanda, and thanks to all breakout sessions. And I hope you had a wonderful discussion, and also thanks for reflecting back to the main room. So now we are spending little bit time to explore, like how can we act and how can we empower our communities to take actions on planting trees. So yeah, that's our point of discussion. So maybe we can reflect on any initiatives that's actually happening in your communities regarding like planting trees, and maybe like we can start with Father Julius. Like he's with seminary, like he's a priest and working with seminarians. So I hope there may be like lots of initiatives happening in the seminaries in cultivation or planting trees. So Father, do you like to share with us?
Yes. Okay. We have a good environment here. Very many trees around us. And I would like to congratulate my predecessors before me, those who were here before. They planted a lot of fruit trees, mango trees. We have banana plantations, and many kinds of trees are planted in our compound, which is around 3 hectares. But our residence area is really limited, very small, so we have enough space in the house because it's a seminary, so the students also need to meditate and reflect in nature. So we continue to plant more trees in the seminary. Although we don't have a systematic kind of initiatives to continue planting trees, but we do it just randomly. So maybe with this awareness now, maybe we can do more and even have a small forest. Initiatives that are around here, the Divine Word Missionaries, they have a eco farm, like something like that, an eco farm, SVD eco farm, where they actually want to teach people about the environmental concerns. And inside the farm, which is actually a big, it is also inside their seminary. Inside that farm, there is a forest, which is really very nice place. And they have also, they cultivate vegetables, and people come in to buy salad, fresh from the farm. And there is a menu called Laudato Si menu. So there you can have fresh salad from the SVD farm. Inside the farm also they have accommodation, and the houses are nature friendly, built from bamboo trees and just local materials. So, and people can go there to have an environment where they can just feel that they are in nature. So I think that is one of a great initiative that is taking place. Other places are destroying the trees, of course, expansion of the city. Places where you find maybe they have trees and they are conserving, the environment is polluted. From the sewage, you can feel the smell from the sewage, and it doesn't give people also the opportunity to feel that they are in nature, because once the air is polluted, you feel a lot of smell, so you don't get connected with nature again. So that is what is happening here, as per my observation about trees and nature. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing, Father. And also,
Yes.
it's really interesting to hear Laudato Si menu. So
Yes.
it's really interesting. Yeah. So when we look at like initiating planting tree initiatives in our local community, so it's really important to know like where we plant and what species we are looking for. So I'm wondering, like in our communities, like in when I'm talking about my local context, it's more like every environmental day we select one plant and go out there and plant it in like maybe in school or colleges. So we don't go into depth like what to plant or where to plant. So how can we address such issues? So do you have any aware about such thing, like how can we start planting trees with informed action, like with lots of, like not lots of, with accurate information? So any thoughts? And UKIYN, I know like you are from science background, so do you like to go? You are on mute. UKIYN, you are on mute.
Muted.
Sorry. I was actually thinking the same day as I was growing up in Brazil. And we have a tree day also, where they encourage at schools, they go there and plant a tree. Yeah. But it's only for the sake of celebrating and showing that you're doing something and you care, but without the information behind. So I think if instead of just planting trees, they actually give a purpose for that. Later, as I grew up, I was involved in an ecological project as a teenager to restore a riparian zone So the of a river that was nearly disappearing because there were no vegetation around. And that's where we actually were planting with a purpose and involving the smaller children to be planting trees there. I think it has to have a purpose. It has to be directed, or as it was mentioned before, it's not only about planting trees, but protecting the ones that are already there, or allowing them to grow healthily. So maybe bringing this information and shifting from thinking that, oh yeah, let's plant more trees, but looking at what we already have, that will be more useful, actually.
Yeah, please.
You made me remember something that I read you in. So it was saying such, planting trees will save the humanity, but not the planet. So I guess it's really good thing that schools are trying to raise awareness of, why you should plant trees, how you plant trees, and what comes together with this. Perhaps they even need to show, if there are no trees, what happens? If there are trees, what happens? And how we can kind of how our input into saving humanity, because kind of we are thinking of coming generations, isn't it? But also the planet, perhaps it has to go together with how we can reduce emissions. So like the carbon usage of everyone, what you can change, perhaps together with planting trees. This information should go together because they are interlinked, kind of like maybe traveling less, or choosing to use the public transport or cycling rather than using the car in short distances. I think those type of education should happen from very young age. And if it goes together with something fun, which is planting, would be more inspiring, I guess, small children, because when they are passionate about something, they do not hesitate talking about it. And they even put different people to do it. Like, oh, are you doing this? Or why you are not doing that? It happens a lot to me at the museum, like where I also work. So yeah, that was my input. Thank you.
Thanks, Shraddha. Thanks for sharing, and thanks, UKIYN and Amanda.
Before I forget, thank you, Greshma. I shared a link in the chat. There's the newest Earth Charter podcast episode is with Ms. Vandana Shiva, and she talks about this issue of the big topic of seed sovereignty. So I think that's also really important. It's a really good resource to help us with our eco-literacy and to think about all these different factors that we have to consider when tree planting, and also when choosing what we eat and everything else that is connected to trees as well.
I also heard about Vandana Shiva. Like, she is from India, and like she's like really inspiring and environmental peace building. And once we were in a peace building discussion, like we were talking about Vandana Shiva, and we were thinking like whether she used the term like environmental peace builder, or like we all know her as environmental activist, but she's the one who really doing environmental peace building. So yeah, it's just a conversation we had like in another peace building organization. So I just wanted to mention that. So yeah, any other initiative do you like to share? And maybe Amanda, do you want to share anything more about any particular initiative that happening around Earth Charter movement? Like we discussed about the role of young leaders, but any other initiatives happening?
No, I just wanted to emphasize just why we're focusing so much on education and education for sustainable development, on creating these spaces like this where we can talk to people from different cultures, from different beliefs, from different perspectives, and see how our actions affect each other as well, and how, even though sometimes it can be very overwhelming, as we have seen, yeah, we don't know what's coming tomorrow. We don't know what's coming next year. We're halfway through the 2030 agenda goals. So this year, 2023, it's the halfway mark to the Sustainable Development Goals, which with the deadline of 2030. So how do we feel about what's going on? Do we feel about our role in how we're contributing to these larger processes and these collectives? And so I hope today was inspiring for us, if we have our own project or if we're supporters of other projects, and also how our projects are also supporting and benefiting other parts, because with interconnectedness, just as something that we do can cause harm, also something that we do that can cause good can also multiply the good, so let's just not get caught up in despair, because we really need hope if we want to keep going and make a difference.
Yeah, and also we have to mention that this is like action decade for restoration. So yeah, like we have these timelines and goals, and also we have to ensure that we also acting, like taking steps, and also like it's really important to reach the ground level and informing the people, like there is action decade is happening. Like most of the time people are not aware about like what's really happening at the higher level of negotiations or like higher level of conferences. So it's also important, like maybe the organizations like RFP and Earth Charter, like how can we share this information with the people? Like we are doing lots of education programs, but still the question is like sometimes we couldn't reach as much as we want. So like how to break that, and also like break that barrier and reach more people and educate them and make them aware, and also encouraging them to act, like planting trees. And when we plant trees, we have to be aware about like what we are planting and where we are planting. So yeah, that's about restoring ecosystem and planting trees. And any other questions or any other thoughts?
Since you were mentioning about the targets and the sustainable development goals, I would just like to add that the environmental goals does not go alone, but you also need to address the social, the economic as well. Those are the pillars of sustainability, right? Environmental, social, and economic, because we are in a position that we can choose and we can advocate for trees, but many people we here in the UK and in Europe in general, but coming from Brazil, I know that there are people who do things because they need to have means of survival. So I think the power of choice is not equal for everyone. So that's why we need to have a holistic view. Is environment very important, but so everyone can have and be on the same level, we need to also address the social problems and give opportunities for other people, and hence the SDGs are quite inspiring and important for that. I just wanted to make this observation.
Okay, then thank you so much, Amanda. And we would like to hear a closing remark from you. Like, how do you feel? And yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Greshma and Ida, for putting this together. And thank you, everyone, for participating. Those of you who stayed until the end. I know we have a lot of virtual meetings every day, but it's worth it when we have these connections and we make the time to have these discussions and then go out there and share them and go out there and turn them into action. So yeah, I just want to say thank you again. I know this week has been hard already. Last week has been a lot, and I also really appreciated the moment of silence that we took earlier as a group. And I hope that well, I'm going to keep track of what's going on with this project so that I can join another space. And thank you for making me feel welcome and for the time that you dedicated to this topic.
Yeah, thank you so much, Amanda, once again, and thanks for accepting our invitation and sharing all the examples. It's really helpful for us to learn and also to be mindful about what we are doing. Like whenever we go for planting trees, what we have to educate others and also practicing ourselves. So thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for coming from Earth Charter. And also it's like when I see this background, it's a nostalgic moment for me. So thank you so much for that. And also for others, we have another session on 25th October. It's a panel discussion on climate justice, and it's actually an intergenerational dialogue. So we welcome all of you to that session. It's on 25th. So please save the date and let's have a nice intergenerational dialogue. So it's a platform for learning. So we looking forward to seeing you there. And also in November, we have amazing series, which we will talk more about action on how to do projects or community level projects and how to build communities effectively. And also we will do reflective practices. So yeah, looking forward to seeing you soon. And thank you so much from UKIYN EcoPeace Cafe. And thanks, Amanda, once again. And bye. Take care.